Have you ever looked up in the sky and said, I wish I could remember that forever. I wish I could paint that. Can you imagine some of the scenes like this, where you see these incredible clouds and you're like, how can anybody ever paint something so dramatic? Or scenes like this, just high drama. Don't you wish you could do that? Well, today we've got somebody on who's going to teach you how to paint skies and how to create drama. Now, you know me, I don't like drama, but I like drama in paintings. Karen Ann Hitt is with us from the state of California. Uh, she,
Hello.
she's sitting in her brand new, yet to be built house overlooking. You got to turn the view in a few minutes. Don't do it right now. Don't do it yet. But you guys got to see the view in a minute, because it's like, if I lived in a house with that view, I'd be moving in with you. Just saying.
We have a spare room.
All right, good. Well, I need a bigger room than a spare room. I need a studio. So, Karen, you're going to teach us how to do dramatic skies. Why don't you take it away?
Okay, well, thank you, and I'm honored to be here. This was one of those last minute things, and as Eric shared, we are up in the Sierras. I'm just going to turn this around real quick, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of where we're at.
Can't see it. Can't see it. Go back.
Go back.
Go
Can you
further.
see it?
Yeah, tilt it up a little bit. Looks like there's some mountains there. Can't see them.
That's all right. Well, maybe
Okay.
we'll do it at the end. Anyways,
Okay. Yeah,
I
you can walk over at the end.
because my little thing here is stuck to the
Little
holder.
thing. Yeah, get it. I get it.
My phone is stuck onto the holder. So anyways, what I wanted to do, this was a plein air painting, ironically, that I started in the Keys, about as far away from here as you can get. And it was ended when I had to, when lightning came. And one of the things about painting dramatic skies, especially when you're trying to do it in plein air, is it changes every 30 seconds. And that is, so a big part of painting this will be painting from my mind's eye. And I do have several references here. I didn't actually submit a reference for you guys to look at, because I want to just kind of show you how you work with what you remember you've seen, and you kind of plan your painting around it. So if you look here on the painting, I hope I can get this.
Yeah, I want to just point out something to everybody too, and that is that while you're lining that up, one of the things that happens, I don't know if you've ever tried this or not, but if you take a picture of a sunset
Yes.
or the sun in the sky, the picture never comes out as beautiful as the sunset. It's either darker or the colors are different. One of the advantages of being able to paint and plein air paint is that you can actually capture what you see, right, Karen?
Absolutely. And that's one of the key things, because when you take a photograph of the sun or the sky, all of this ends up being almost a white blob. And then it's kind of hard to even pick up here. And this is a painting that was started again on account of weather. The beauty of the Keys is the sun changed so quickly, but also the storms came in again. But when you're trying to get out and you're painting and reflecting what you're seeing from the sky, you're going to remember some of your basic key points. And a lot of times when you're plein air painting, my goal is not always necessarily to have a finished painting, but it's to have proper color notes. And one of the things that, for example, when I took a photograph of this, all of these were coming out like a bright white. This is the only bright white that was actually in the sky, one little spot of it. The rest of the sky was very dramatic. So as we're coming in, and then there was the reflections on the water. My references over here are about, I have probably 5 photographs that I've taken of this sky. And I don't know if I turn this, if you can actually see it. Let me see.
All right, we'll try it. Here we go.
You
Get
know
ready
what?
for a roller coaster ride.
No, you know what? I'm just going to grab my iPad. It'll be easier. Is
Okay.
that, can you see that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that is one. And then as I went through the day, as the sky, I mean, it turned into this.
Wow.
And then it opened up and it was almost sunny, and then lightning came. So there's a lot of different things going on in this sky. And what I want to try to bring out, again, this is sort of the effect that we have going on here. And if you zoom way in on this, let me see if I can.
I hear a truck going by,
No,
climbing
it's
up the
actually
hill.
a helicopter.
Oh, it's a helicopter.
It's a helicopter working on the waterfall, if you can imagine. So that waterfall that I tried to turn this around for is actually the water supply for LA, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
And there's 3 dams behind.
Watch your
that.
language.
Yeah, exactly. There's 3 dams back there. And in front and next to it is an 11,000 foot peak. It's called Carson Peak. So anyways, they're working on the dams. And ironically, even though we're at 7,500 feet where we're at, we're in a flood zone. Because if
lovely.
that dam breaks, we're in trouble.
Well,
So
the good news, Karen, is your paintings will be more valuable once you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. So the helicopters that you hear, they're taking supplies to the waterfall that's right behind us. But anyway,
Karen is one of the only painters I know that has had a president of the United States attend one of her art shows and walk away with one of her paintings. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was very cool. And am I allowed to say my gallery? I don't know what I'm allowed to do. But anyway, so my gallery is down in Boca Grande, and there's quite a few different people that visit that area. And they didn't even know, I have to confess, he did not come intentionally to my art show. And it was a pleasant surprise when he came, and it was an even pleasanter surprise. He's still my heart when he stopped at my painting and admired my brushstrokes. So that was pretty cool.
And we don't do politics here, but which president was?
We're not going to say who it was.
You can say who it was. You can say who it was.
No, that's okay. That's all right. We'll leave it at that. I kind of keep, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think you had to sign a confidentiality agreement or something, didn't you?
I think, yeah, you kind of keep all that stuff a little quiet. So I just say received a gift. So, but back to the painting part. So I'm sitting here to the side of the painting, and my easel, I don't want to give you guys whiplash. Let's see if this works. Can you see it? No. Anyways, I give up. I'm just going to try to paint. And I apologize. When I come in here and I'm trying to do this area, one of the things you don't want to lose when you're starting your paintings or beginning your paintings, I don't know if you can see through this, but down in this area here, this is actually the toned part of the canvas. And sometimes that will remain a major part of the painting. And when I'm coming in and doing the skies, especially when you're trying to paint them in plein air, it's not about an exact replica. You want to get the feel of the clouds. And a lot of times people are always asking me, what color is your sky? And my answer to that is yes, that's the color in the sky. Because when you're coming through here, you can see there's not a single inch of color that's going to remain pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So when you're mixing your colors, you're going to want to mix your values. And I do have, look what I brought. I brought my glasses.
All right. Okay. Well, let's wait a minute. Let's do a screenshot here where we're both together. All right.
Okay.
You ready?
All right.
Okay.
So I got my glasses.
Okay.
And when you put your glasses on, so you can tell them what these glasses are for, Eric, how it breaks down your values when you put on your glasses. There's several ways of doing that. But in honor of Eric, I brought out my glasses. And it's something that I do use regularly. So another key thing to remember while you're painting is you don't want to get lost in the color. And the color is, every artist will tell you this, gets all the glory, but the values do all your work. So when you're coming through and you're doing your painting, the things that I wanted to remember from this sky, and I put bold brush strokes there before I had to run from the lightning, is this one area of light, these 2 little guys here. Even though there's 2, I don't usually do that, but it looked like these eyes that were looking at me from the sky, and how the rain clouds are coming in. So when I come in now, what I'm going to try to do is mix those values and those temperatures and bring it around to that. And Eric, I didn't put mineral spirits out. Sorry. I need mineral spirits. Okay. I have some. And I apologize. The helicopter is left. It'll be back in a few minutes. All right. And my brushes, I tend to use a long, flat, somewhat soft brush, just because when I'm doing that, and I'm just going to show you, there's nothing on my brush right now except mineral spirits. But when you do that, my brush is held so loosely in my hand that it could almost fall out of my hand. And when I'm bringing it onto my thing, I want to make sure every brush stroke is saying a story. I'm not just sort of trying to color in anything. I'm only trying to replicate what is in front of me. So right now, all I really needed to bring in on this was to bring out the areas of light and to recontrast these darks. So I want to try to mix some of those colors. And a lot of my colors, I use pretty classic palette.
Okay.
I'm just going to go through it real quick, but I have several whites, I confess, but only because with the clouds, they really help. But my blues are where I kind of get heavy. I use ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, and sometimes I even put phthalo blue on my palette. And then I also have viridian green. And those, again, depending on my areas, they're colors that will help me get some of these variances in all the different blues. But I want to show you, this is just a straight mixture without any of the values, without any toning to it. And when I come to that temperature, and then as soon as you add the values to it, too many times people are trying to make a blue or a gray or a pink or an orange, and they see that. And when you bring in a different temperature, see, just by adding a few, believe it or not, the greens.
Okay, now I'm going to have a talk with you.
Okay, have a talk with me.
All right. So there are a lot of people watching who are newbies, and they don't know what the heck you're talking about when you say temperature.
Oh, okay. Okay. So temperature, the easy way to explain temperature is exactly that in the color field. When you think cold, it tends to be like ice, blue, on the colder side of the color wheel. And when you are thinking warm, it's going to be like the sun on the warmer side of the color wheel.
I wish I had my color wheel. I'd pull it up for you.
Well, I actually have one. Hold on. I got to go grab one. Hold on. There's one over here.
Okay, folks, our guest today is Karen Ann Hitt. We're talking about how to make dramatic skies. And while Karen's away getting her color wheel, let's just play the official opening, shall we?
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes.
Our guest today is Karen Ann Hitt, and we're doing dramatic skies, and Karen knows how to do them. She's a fabulous painter. She lives in Florida, but she's also living in building a house. You're going to see the view in a minute in California. And she's gone off to get her color wheel. I have one that I normally put on here, but it has disappeared today. So anyway, hopefully Karen will be back. Karen, where are you?
I'm back. I can't, my color wheel's not filled in the one I brought. Okay,
right.
So one of the things I want you to see, I don't know if you can see, can you see the letters on this at all? No.
No.
Okay. It won't work. So when you're doing your color wheel, I'm just going to have to do it on here. Actually, I know what I'll do. Dare I move this? I'll do it.
Oh,
really
here
fast.
we got it. We got our color wheel on the screen.
Oh, thank
Congrats to my
you.
producer,
Thank you for the
Amandine.
heroes. Okay, so when you're thinking warm and cool colors, and for your beginners, remember, every artist is going to tell you the same thing. The color gets all the glory, but your values are going to do all the work. But even within that little bit of color, you need to know your color temperatures versus their vibrance. So when you're looking at your color wheel, the warm colors are going to be on the right side of that color wheel. And that is going to be something that will remind you of the sun heat, fire. Your cold temperatures are going to be on the left side of that color wheel. And that is something that's going to remind you of ice, cold, and
Now,
in
what's
the blues.
interesting, I think, for people is like if you look at the two greens on that color wheel, one of the greens
Right.
is warm and one of the greens is cooler. And so
Right.
that would be what the sun hitting a greenhouse on the side versus a greenhouse being in shade.
Right. And that's the same difference if you're looking at reds. You can actually have a cool red. Your alizarin crimson tends to be your red that's on the cool side. So when I set up my palette, I set up pretty much, it's expanded upon, but it's a warm and cool primary palette. So from that, you're going to have a warm red and a cool red, which would be something like an alizarin crimson for your cool and a cad red for your warm. With your yellows, same thing. A lemon yellow or a cad yellow light would be your cool yellow. And then a straight cad yellow, or cadmium is the full name of it, would be your warmer yellow. As you get to the reds, the same thing. My cad red is, as I said, going to be my warm red. And my blues is one place where I get away from that because I do so much in the sky. Excuse me, I use so many of the different blues. And when I'm doing that, I'm going to bring in both ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, cobalt blue. And within those blues, I believe the most neutral blue is the cobalt. And the warmest blue is going to be your cerulean. Sometimes I also bring in a phthalo blue, which is something that's beautiful for a lot of your sea colors. But another way of dealing with that is using a phthalo, and I can't even, Eric, can you pronounce the full name of phthalo?
Can I pronounce the name of phthalo?
Yeah, the full how you pronounce it, the PTH part of it. Can you pronounce
Phthalo?
But never mind. If you pull out the tube, it says way more than phthalo on it. So anyways, there's also a green. And those are some of the colors.
I hate phthalo colors because they're so fugitive that you get one little drop on you. Next thing you know, you've got it everywhere.
Yes, see. And I have to say, I had taken phthalo off of my palette until I took a workshop myself with Kim English, and he used phthalo green and alizarin crimson to make his darks. Something that I do to make a lot of my darks, and this is getting back to your temperatures, is I use my ultramarine blue or my raw umber to make a dark. And if I want it to be a little bit warmer, I'll use my transparent red oxide, and which is a color that I tend to tone all my canvases with. So when you're going back to temperature and you're going back to values and you're going back to all your painting, everything you paint is going to be a variation of simply red, yellow, or blue. And you're going to ask yourself, is that a warm red? Is that a warm yellow? Or is that a warm blue? So when you're looking at all of these different variances in the sky, you can see where some of the parts of my blues are going to be a warmer. Let's slide this over here. Okay. Okay, so over in this area, you can see that all of this area in here is going to be a shade of a warmer blue. Even in my darks of the sky, they tend to be on the warm side of blue, even though blue is on the cold side of the color wheel. And one of the ways that you can really move light is by playing with your warm and cool. There's two ways of directing your viewer's eye when you're working on a painting. And this is getting back to the drama of your painting. If you want to add a focal point or grab somebody's eye, there's two ways of doing that. And that is by either having your darkest dark and your lightest light next to each other, or having opposite sides of the color wheel, which are moving into complementary colors. And if you're a beginner painter, the easiest way to do that is if you had that color wheel back up there, it's on the opposite side of the color wheel. So the opposite of red would be green. The opposite of blue would be orange. And if you notice in the drama of this sky, there's a lot of a play of blue and orange. Now, mind you, the camera plays with the color a bit. So you're not quite seeing the vibrance that we have here in the real painting. But when I'm mixing my colors, that is what I'm asking myself. Is it a warm blue? Is it a cool blue? Is it a warm red? Is it a cool red? And one of the other things you might notice in the sky, because a lot of times people, when they're painting clouds, they have white little puffy clouds. The only place I have any light white is in the very little bit of accent in there. Most of this is going to come through in a color. And within that color, again, I'm trying to get the idea of the stormy sky in every color that I'm mixing. And when I bring this in, I want you to see something. If I add this, look how that changes the vibrance just by adding a dark in here. But at the same time, when I paint my skies, I do as much blending with a brush as I do with a paper towel. And I also have other tools, but I confess in my quick planning of getting this ready, I don't have as many of my paints out. I don't have all my tools handy. I apologize.
That's okay. Hey, Karen, I'm going to take you off screen for just a second, just to update everybody. We're painting dramatic skies with Karen Ann Hitt, and she's in a kind of an interesting situation. She's in a house that's in the middle of being built where her internet connectivity is a little bit wonky. And so I wanted her internet just to be able to catch up for a second because it was getting a little fuzzy. I'm Eric Rhodes. This is Art School Live, and welcome. Let's see if we can get her back. All right. Looks it's still a little fuzzy. I don't know what happened. Ever since you moved your camera, it got a
really?
little fuzzy. Yeah.
All right, let me try doing this. Hold on.
All right.
Did that get it back?
No, I'm afraid not. I think it just got a little bit fuzzy. I'll tell you what, why don't you do this real quickly? And why don't
Okay.
you sign off and come back in? That seems to solve the problem.
Okay.
Okay, now what we're going to do is ask Karen to go off the stage for a second, come back in and see if the technology catches up. My apologies. I want to let you guys know that we have an event coming up, and it's called Pastel Live, and it's a pretty cool event. It's going to be in September, Pastel Live online, and you want to make sure that you have a chance to get there. Also, something happened last night. Okay, I just posted this a minute before the show, and that is my event, Fall Color Week, which has been sold out for several weeks. The facility contacted us last night, and I guess they had some other small meeting going on in the facility at the same time, and it canceled, and we were able to get 10 more rooms. And so we immediately went out to our wait list, and 4 of those rooms got snatched up very quickly. And there are only 6 left. And there are several people on the wait list trying to make up their mind. But if you want to go to Fall Color Week, I would suggest you go there now and grab one of those rooms. It's an artist retreat I do every year. It's in a different place every year. That's at fallcolorweek.com/ASL for Art School Live. Okay, we got Karen Ann Hitt back. Oh,
Yay!
now it's fabulous.
Is it fabulous? Okay, so I want to go back to the painting, but I also want to say something about your Fall Color Week.
Okay.
And if I could be there, I would. But my granddaughter is having her first birthday, and I obviously can't miss that.
Yeah.
But Asilomar is where you're at, right?
Yep.
It is one of the most beautiful places you ever will see. And if you can get there, I cannot recommend it enough, because it's just, the joy of it is, like, we're talking about drama here. The joy of that is there's no drama. You just have camaraderie with fellow painters of like-mindedness, and there's no real instruction. You just paint and paint and paint. And I can't speak highly enough of it.
Thank you. That's very kind. And you walk out your back door and the ocean is right there. I mean,
exactly. I mean, Asilomar, I stayed at Asilomar, one of the Pace, and you can even get, I don't know, I don't want to say that, but they do have fireplaces in some of the rooms, and it's just an amazing place.
Don't create problems for me now. You know, they just remodeled the whole place. They probably pulled the fireplaces out.
Oh, that's true. You're right. It's California. So yeah, so I live in 2 of the most extreme regions. So my home in Florida is at 11 feet above sea level, and my home here is in front of me is an 11,000 foot mountain.
Nice.
But we're at about 7,500 just 7,500 feet. And I think where you guys are doing pace, where's Lake Tahoe? Do you know how high it is?
I don't know, but it's high. It's a high enough altitude that one of our guests isn't coming because she can't handle high altitude. What she's referring to, folks, is the Plein Air Convention, which is going to be in May in Lake Tahoe. All right. Would you get back to painting and quit talking about all my
I'm
stuff and
trying.
quit talking about
Well,
your
to be
painting stuff?
honest, it's hard for me not to talk about all your stuff because that's how I first met you, is doing all your stuff.
Yeah, that's true. We became pretty good friends too.
Yeah. And can you
I
believe
knew
it's
you
been
before you met your husband.
I did. I met my husband. Well, when I came back, we actually, though, people, to show you how sad and I don't know if I should share, but when we were on our honeymoon, we traveled the country in our motor coach. And on our honeymoon, my husband came with us and we went to the Plein Air Convention where I was one of the demo people. And we went to all your events. We went to the one in the Adirondacks that year.
Yeah, you took your RV. I remember Gary showed me your RV, and you showed me how you store all your painting panels and stuff. It was pretty cool.
And I'm still doing that. Same RV, same box he made me because he loved me that I could carry all my panels in. Can you see what I'm doing here with the so-called adding the drama? And the way I'm adding the drama is I did 3 different, I want to see the 3 different temperatures here. We have a cooler blue, which is on the bluer side. Then we have a little bit more of a lavender, and then we have kind of a reddish violet, but they're all on the darker scale. And I apologize for not having this filled in. I have one of these, but I don't know where it is right now. But if you're looking at your values, which is
all right,
something
we're going to bring up a value scale for people who don't know what that means. Values.
Thank you.
Darks
Values
and
are
light.
huge. And you're doing, I'm assuming 10 is your dark there, right? I can't
9.
quite see. Okay. So when you're doing your values, one of the ways you're going to add your drama is you keep a close value range with one extreme. So if you look at this painting and if you broke it down to just the values, most of this painting is in your 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 range. It's all within this pretty much of a dark range. I'm adding a few extreme darks just because I want to start controlling my viewer's eye a little bit more. And when I bring those in next to some of my lights, do you see how if you bring this dark right next to one of your lights, see how that light automatically gets a little bit brighter? And one of the things that so many people, they ask, how do you get so much light in your paintings? And one of my favorite things that I read from Monet is that all the light in his lily pads comes from the murky purples, blacks, darks that you see in all the different water areas. So when I'm painting, I try to remember what my goal is as far as my focal point. And here, my focal point was obviously this dramatic sky, but also the way the light just sort of started pouring through it. But when I'm making a brush stroke, this is one of my, I'm not allowed to say that. So anyways, this is one of my softer, long bristle brushes. And when I'm bringing it down, again, I want you to see how when you're holding it, you can almost let the brush fall out of your hand. But at the same time, I could also bring this in and I could actually draw a cloud ray of dark with my brush stroke. And people are always afraid that they're going to mess up their painting. That's why you have more paint. And at the same time, do you see how just that little bit of play, I don't want to be able to know when you're painting what paintbrush you're using, how you're holding it. Like some people might say, I've got a perfect little fan brush that I can make my little bushes with, or different things along that lines. And when you're painting, that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. And I want you to see here where I'm, again, trying to get an accent around a dark area. And I'm going to play with the blues and the reds only for drama.
Only place drama's allowed.
That's right. Every sky, the drama is something that's going to bring out. And one of the things that I have to say, sometimes when I'm painting my skies, the underpainting part of it can be very thin. But do you see how I can come in with my brush and blend that? I have all these fancy brushes that I could do different blending with and do that. But to be honest, when I'm out, especially when I'm out in the field, this brush has no paint on it. I tend to just grab a paper towel. And Viva la Paper Towel is the best paper towel because it doesn't tend to bleed on there. One of the other hazards of the sea, I apologize if you see me swinging my arms, there's a lot of mosquitoes out here, and they're very annoying. So if you come to Pace, you want to make sure you prepare for the
I
mosquitoes.
thought California didn't have any mosquitoes. I'm surprised.
Really? They told you
Are
that?
you using any kind of a medium, or you're just dipping into mineral spirits?
Right now, I'm not using any mediums. When I paint in the studio, I do use a lot of different mediums. And one of my favorite ones, because I really try to go as non-toxic as possible, but one of my favorite ones is cold wax medium. And with that, I can do a lot of sculpting.
Did you say cold wax?
Yes, cold
Yeah.
wax. Cold wax.
You want to be, I want to tell everybody, you got to be really careful because there's a lot of, I can't go too far on this because I don't want to offend anybody, but there's a lot of potential danger in the materials you're using, including mineral spirits, which is a carcinogen.
Right.
And so if you're breathing it, it's hurting you.
Right. And I did buy some of those new things, but I haven't even had a chance to try some of those new products. Like there's a lot of different products out, so I can't really say names and different things, but do research it because I am somebody that tends to wear my paint. There's a lot of artists that never get any paint on them, and I honestly have no clue how they do that.
You probably get paint in your hair.
I do. Well, I don't usually paint quite in this angle onto the side of my painting, but I'm trying to make it so that you can see. One of the things I do want you to see, though, as I'm working on this, as I'm adding my darks, when you're painting sky, especially above the water, what's up here is going to end up down here. And a lot of times it's going to end up a little bit darker down here. But one of the things I want you to see that I'm going to add in this same area, and I am doing this so lightly, I would usually get probably a little bit bolder, but I'll be honest, I'm painting from the side and I can't. I'm doing my darndest over here. But I want to bring out some of these highlights, and I also want to bring out some of these darks. So what's up here is going to also be down here. But if you would have seen the reference of that day, this water took on a light that I don't know. And that was one of the other things. Sometimes the hardest part of some of the skies I have the blessing of seeing is making them believable, because the colors are just so vivid. It's hard to believe that they actually did that. But I do want you to see how I'm just very lightly kind of, when I work in the layers of a sky, one of the things, like many times with my students, I'll have them mix a color and say, add that. And then they literally obliviate whatever was below it. And many times with your sky, you don't want any hard holes necessarily. And you want to be able to layer it in the sense that it'll be a nice play of color, no matter where you're putting that brush. So even within this area up here, I've got some of my lights are going, some of my darks are coming around this way, but at the same time, I'm going to have some of this beat of light that's going to go straight up. And I've got this mosquito trying to get my head. So I apologize as I run from mosquitoes. I don't know if you can see him. He's there. I got him. Okay.
All right. We're going to do this one more time because your camera's getting funky again. So you're
Oh,
going to go
no.
off and re-sign in. Our guest today is 𝙬𝙤 Hitt, how to paint dramatic skies. And I hope you're learning some lessons. Remember, dark next to light makes light stronger, right? And in a focal point, if you can have your highest contrast, your darkest dark, your lightest light, your most chroma, that's chroma being bright color. That's where you use it in your focal point. Okay, this is Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. Now Karen is back. Okay, let's see if it worked.
Okay, did it work?
I think it's better.
Is it better? I apologize. That's one of the hard things out here when we were talking about doing this is I didn't know if I would have a Wi-Fi connection. And ironically, my phone says I have a Wi-Fi connection, but it comes and goes.
Well,
So
it
one of
may
the
be
things-
far, far away, so you never know.
Right, right. Well, and it pulls it from different things. But what I want you to see now, remember one of the things I was saying earlier is if two of the ways that you can attract your viewers' eyes is adding values, and the other way is complementary colors. So you have your darkest dark and your lightest light. That's one way. And the other way is with complementary colors. So if you're looking at a color wheel, it's going to be on the opposite side of the color wheel. So if I have a purple, the opposite side of the color wheel is going to be a version of a yellow. So I want you to see here, this light on my easel, when I was mixing it, seemed like it was almost too dark. And when I bring it up here to my canvas, it almost looks too light to me. So I'm going to warm it up a little bit because I want to get a play. I don't want to go all the way to the complementary color. I want to just sort of get a play of it where it's going to come around the edges.
These are the little things that you learn on this program that a lifetime of experience teaches you, and you can save a lot of time and energy learning these things on your own with great people like Karen who can share them.
Well, and I have to be honest, one of the ways that I learned to see better, because I actually started painting, I studied at Parsons School of Design in New York, which at the time, I had no idea what a luxury it was to be studying at one of the top design schools in the country. And when I was doing that, they were, you learn the classic techniques. And we used to plein air paint in Central Park and different things, and they called it everything from reportage to field studies. And I'm giving away my age when I say this was in the 70s that I was painting in Central Park and learning to see out there. But once you paint from life, guys, if there's any chance that you have to paint from life versus painting just from a photograph, the whole world will open up for you. And I don't care what you call your version of painting from life, the name that we call it today is plein air painting. And again, my goal when I get out plein air painting is not necessarily to get a finished painting, but to get proper color notes.
Okay, so I'm going to just challenge what you said there for a second because I think I want to clarify. Plein air painting is painting from life if you're painting landscapes, but you can paint from life by painting with human beings, or
Yes, you
even a
can.
still life, you're painting from life. All of that's going to help you because you're going to get better color and understanding of things form when you're painting from a real thing or a real person versus a photograph. Not that there's anything wrong with photos, but if you learn to paint from life first, and especially if you're landscape outside in the sunshine, it changes everything.
And one of the things that I found really interesting when I was studying at Parsons School of Design is we actually had to take photography. And trying to explain to my father when I was at school why I had to buy a camera to take painting class, he wasn't quite understanding that. But one of the classes that we had there was learning to take photography for painting. And you learn to use your photography. It's just a reference. you're not trying to paint that photograph, because you have the photograph, and the photograph is not going to give you as much information as your human eye is going to give you. And one of the things I want you to see that I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to add some vibrance and color. Can you see that it doesn't quite come through as brightly as it does on my end, but the purples and the yellows are going to be what makes this sky jump. And I'm trying to bring you through all the different angles that this sky was pouring out. Can you see that in the,
Yep.
is that coming through on your end?
Yep. If you
Okay.
guys just came in, if you're first timer here, our guest today is Karen Ann Hitt, and she's teaching us how to paint dramatic skies. And look at how lightly she's dragging that brush.
And it's considered a dry brush technique. You were asking me the medium. I have a lot of paint on my brush, but I have 0 medium, and I've got to get in the right angle, because these angles have to be straight or they're not going to be believable. But you kind of just drag it over. And one of the things I really can't emphasize enough when you're painting the sky and you're adding the different variances of the colors that you're going to do to that is you don't want to obviate the color that's below it. So when I'm bringing this on here, I want you to see how I can just lightly lay this across the top of my paint. And it'll just glide across it. And this sky, I wish I could, yeah, the reference for it changed about every 3 seconds when I was out there, to the
Yeah, and you're
point.
just taking hundreds of photographs, just trying to grab every different change.
Exactly. And by the time I left, I actually was making a run for it, because the lightning decided to join the sky. But can you see how I'm bringing out some of these little areas of light?
Yep.
And I'm going to come back in and bring now. So I've got my 2 brushes here, and look at the colors of my 2 brushes, the darker and the lighter, and the values are in the purple and yellow range. So I'm going to bring out a little bit more. And on my darks, I do tend to add a little bit of medium, only because it keeps it a little bit softer. But I want to bring out a little bit of this edge here, and that's darker than I want it. But I want to show you how I can bring that back out. Many times I paint with a brush with no paint on it. And this is only in certain areas of the sky. I'm not going to do this everywhere. But see how I can bring that, and it just sort of adds a little bit of a contrast in there to make that edge come through. And I'm going to come back. I got a little heavy-handed, I confess, with this. And what I would love to do, if you come to my, I'll sit and work on this after our lunch hour break, and I will bring this to a finish, and you'll be able to see how I can go back and forth between some of the darks and the lights within this ray right here.
Okay, so we're going to put your social media information in the chat so people can find you.
Okay, and I am going to try to, I will try to have this up on Instagram by day's end. Now, mind you, it's nice and early here. It's only 10:45 here. So that means it's what there?
Yeah, well, there is, we've got people watching all over the world. So
Oh,
we've
that's
got
right.
people in Ireland and people in Netherlands and Egypt and all over the place. So what is time there?
It is, yeah, it is that time there. So it's 10:45 here in the morning. So one of the things, and again, I apologize, you know, I'm trying to get the feel for this as much as I can in a short period of time. But the key elements I'm trying to show you here is that you're going to have a play of temperature and you're going to have a play of values. And within that play of temperature and value, I can come in here and make the accents. I did put a little bit of medium on my brush, just a little bit of mineral spirits. And I really prefer using some of these other things, but that's what I had on hand here when I came up here. But then after you get some of your lights, then you can come in here and start adding some of your detail for the edge work around your sky. And again, I will do this. I will get into this a little bit more when we get off camera, because I can only do so much painting from the side like this. And I
Yeah, it's
apologize.
not easy to paint from the side.
No,
People don't
it's
understand
not.
how hard it is to paint on camera.
I mean, this is a newbie. I'm a newbie at this, and I every single grain of my being is like, no, don't do it, don't say yes, and I don't know why I did. I felt,
Well,
they
you're
said,
doing a great job, and now all these people are getting to know you.
well, hi everybody,
There
I'm
you
Karen
go.
Ann Hitt. But can you see what I'm trying to do here with the lights and the darks? That's really what I want to emphasize for adding drama to your sky. And within doing all of that, and I'm going to come back and clarify all of these, because one of the things, a lot of times when I get done painting a sky, somebody will tell me something that they see in the sky that I didn't see when I painted it. And I don't want that. So if somebody tells me they see something like that, as shark or something, a lot of times I'll end up taking that out, only because then every time I look at the sky, all I see is a shark and I don't see my sky anymore.
You're
But what I
incredibly
want,
patient. You just, I'd be like slapping paint all around there. You're just very delicate, like
well, and one of the
like a
things
little
that,
flower.
and I apologize, and that's, everybody has their own approach to this. And I tend to be a little softer edged on my clouds, most of my cloud. And then when I get right to the point where the bold brush is going to come in, if you do, it's the same thing with anything, less is more. If you do the same brush stroke everywhere, to me, that's just my opinion, it loses its punch.
Yep.
So I kind of try to save my really bold, light brush strokes. And I'm just going to mix a nice bright color. This may not be quite right, but I want to just show you that you don't always paint with no paint on your brush. But when you come in here and you're going to bring in some of these bright, light colors, I don't want it everywhere. But see how your eye is going to automatically go to that area? And you could just bring one straight brush stroke even in there, and it's going to have the same effect. And a lot of times, as far as like this, I don't want you to come in here and just do a perfect brush stroke on there. To me, it's more important that you have some character to your brush stroke.
Karen,
Yes.
the question from Rosemary Clark is, how do you fix a crooked sunbeam or God ray?
Well, and are you seeing one?
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yours is turning a little bit on the right side.
Right here. And that's
how do you fix it without making it bigger?
Right. So that's the hazard of painting from the side. But when you're coming back through, the only other way you can bring that back around is, and that's a really good question, because when you're coming back in, so if I got to see where it's crooked. This is kind of curving right here, right? Yeah. So if I come back in with some of my darks.
Well, you're locked up on screen again. We're gonna have to do this again. We can hear you, but your video's not working. Okay, our guest today is Karen Ann Hitt, painting dramatic skies. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Karen's going to be back in just a second. I'm Eric Rhodes. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, have been since COVID, and we love doing this. The goal here is to teach people to paint, help you understand that anybody can learn to paint. Now, we have literally hundreds of free lessons on YouTube that if you go to Art School Live and subscribe, you can get all of them. But we also professionally produce lessons with some of the world's leading artists at painttube.tv, which is an app. You can watch it on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, etc. Plus, you have an app on your phone. And we also sell old school DVDs if you want that too. But we have over 700 art instruction courses, and that's at painttube.tv. Okay, Karen's back. I'm pretty good at stalling. I have to sometimes stall.
Well, and I'm just trying to kind of give with a bold brush stroke that you can see from over there. But the question was, how do you straighten out a sun cloud? And to be honest, the goal is to not do that.
Yeah,
But
in
if
other
I
words, do it right from the first time, right?
Yes, and if I was and don't paint from the side of your painting, you'll have a much better angle if you're painting straight on. But I want you to see how I kind of played with some of the values, and then I can come back in here and see how I can start correcting that. But do you
Looks
see
like
how
you're
I
putting
also
looks like you're putting some pinks in there.
I did that just because when I bring these almost every time I paint, I do look at the color that's right next to it. So you've got your purple, red, and yellow. So the way I get my grays often are by mixing them right on my canvas by juxtaposition of color.
That's a big word.
Now that's a little word for me anyway, for my mind's eye. So, but what I'm trying to show you is if I come in here, and this is still, I can see it's not straight.
Yeah, well, it's where it's curving is up at the top half,
Here?
right? Or no, as you go on the right side and just go down that beam where it's kind of it looks like it's curving there, right at the very top.
Right here.
Yeah.
Well, and what that is actually, okay, so let me correct that so you can see that it's not a curve of that beam.
Okay.
That is actually an edge of a cloud right there.
Now the other thing is when she lays in those darks, look how much it makes that light stand out even more.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're coming in here, so that beam I put in there, let me just brush some of that off. So a lot of times I'll come in with one of my very soft, let me get my hand in the right spot. This brush has no paint on it, and it's also one of my softer brushes. I have fan brushes, but I don't have one in my thing right now. But I just take a nice soft brush and see how you can almost give the effect of the cloud. And to be honest, if I could turn my painting around, I could probably fix this because I can't.
That's why when we professionally produce things, you don't have to paint to the side like this.
We don't have to paint to the side.
This
Yeah,
is the problem with doing shows with iPhones and things like that. Now, what are you doing there?
Well, it's something you can't quite see from there, and I'm doing it bolder than I usually do, just so that you can see it. And I'm hoping it's going to help this, but can you see this little tiny bit of cloud bank over here?
Yeah, little edges.
Yeah, so I'm going to accent them a little bit more just so you can see them, because this is an entire bank of clouds that's down here. And when you come to my Instagram page, all of this will be corrected because I'm going to stand in front of my painting. I'll be able to see what I did. But one of the other things I want to say when you're doing your dramatic skies, I don't know if you can, I can't zoom in with this either, but there's some little areas here that are showing some of these little cloud banks. And a lot of times your negative space that you're working with, the same thing up and through here. If you look in this area all through here, it's just a variances of blues and purples and grays and different areas. And then I make a small edge, and this paint here is probably about about a 1/16 of an inch thick. It comes right off the page. And the same thing here, where the light ends up, one of the key things I really want to say to you when you're painting is your light always lays on top of the dark. So if you're going to bring in your light, you've got to make sure you've got your darks in there first. And when you're bringing in all the different areas of the light, there's different, again, the temperature. So if you're going to be playing with focal point, like I want your eye to kind of come in here, and I really made a mess out of this, and I apologize. So I'm going to fix that, and I'll show you're going to learn something from that. So, but happy accidents can also, but when you were saying that the ray was crooked, the ray is actually coming out from under here through this area, through here. And I can't show you my picture, but also within all of this are all these different layers of clouds, and all these other little sun banks were coming up, cloud banks were coming in, and little bits of light were peeking through, and even the light was coming in through the rain. So at the same time, where I want this to straighten out, and Eric, I apologize, I'm not going to try to do it from painting from the side because I can't quite see it well enough.
That's okay.
And to,
we got this
answer the
covered.
question, to the gal, and I thank you for asking it, is the best way to come back to that is because you're supposed to be with your brush strokes. Every brush stroke is supposed to be intentional and show a direction. So when you're coming in and trying to do a correction, the goal is to not get your sun rays crooked to begin with. But if that should happen to you in your painting, you're going to come back with the light and the dark, and you have to try to keep the same feel of all the layers of paint that you have on here to begin with. And when I share this on Instagram, I'm going to try to do some close-ups of some of these layers so that you can see the variances of colors in here with the painting, because they're not quite coming through, I don't think, on the camera.
All right.
But I
Well,
do
Karen,
think
you've done a terrific job. We're kind of at that point now where we're running out of time, so I apologize. But I think we all got a really great lesson out of this, and we learned a lot.
so.
Do you want to reiterate a couple of primary principles before we go?
I think the key thing to remember whenever you're working on a sky is the first thing you're going to do is a lot of times I'll work from a thumbnail, but the sky is always moving. It's going to move within 30 seconds before you get something. So you want to capture your color notes. Color notes are going to be the most important detail that you add to a painting. And then from that, you also want to add your values. So you're going to get in your big shapes, and by the time you paint this cloud, it's going to be over to this. I mean, it's going to be gone. It could end up being completely clear blue skies by the time you finish it.
Yeah.
So you really have to take a recording with your mind's eye for what it is that you're trying to paint. And I'll be honest, one of the best ways to paint the sky is to just sit and watch it, and just sit and study it. And sunrise and sunsets are great because of their drama, but they're also, Eric preaches no drama. There is drama when you're painting a sunset.
One of the beautiful things about this unfortunate storm that's going across America right now is there's some incredible clouds.
There really are.
Great opportunity. Good timing on this lesson. Karen, thank you so much for being here and going to the trouble. Now you can take your camera quickly and show us the view, because we want to see the view from this new house you're building. And we're all coming. We're all
Can I just I'm going to take it off the stand.
All right.
And okay, come with me. Here we go. Wait, I got to get up.
Okay.
I know. I was like, okay, hold on. Now I can't see what you see. All right. So here's a mountain.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
Yeah, we got a mountain. And the reason you heard the helicopters, see that there's a waterfall up there. Can you see the waterfall?
No, hold your camera still. Oh, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Can you see it?
Is it up
so there's
on
a waterfall, and behind that waterfall is a dam. Wow. There's actually 3 dams.
Wow.
And they're working on them.
Wow. So, how exciting. What a wonderful, congratulations. You guys worked hard for that.
Yes. You know, to be honest, it's one of those things. If you would have asked me 10 years ago when I met you that if I was going to ever be doing this, the answer would have been no, not even it wasn't even on our radar. But we came out here visiting family, and it's just, like I said, it's actually a little house with a big RV underneath it. And the only way you can have a house here is to have the water, sewer, and hookups is to build a house. So we have a little house on top of our RV. Nice. So thank you, Eric, for having me. I'm honored to be a part. Come visit me at an original Hitt on Instagram. That's also my website, and I will fix all of this for you. I'm going to sit here and paint and show you the finished painting
All
by
right.
the day's end.
Thank you, Karen Ann.
Thank you. Where's
All
my
right.
thumb?
Bye. Nice to see you too. Well, we became friends, like she said, about 10 years ago. She decided to drive across the country and paint to the Plein Air convention and by herself. And it was quite a story. It was really good. You'll have to look for that in Plein Air magazine. Okay, well, we're done for today, but I want to tell you a couple of things. First off, we have an event coming up in September. It's called Pastel Live. It is a world-class event with some of the top pastel artists in the world and a great way to learn pastel or to get better. We have an essential techniques day for beginners or refresher on the 17th of September. We moved it out of August because I don't want to disrupt your summer. And then we have coming up Realism Live. It is a complete online conference about realism, things that are realistic, figures, portraits, still life, landscapes, all subject matter. And then we have Watercolor Live coming up in January. And so that's cool. We don't have our full faculty on there yet. And then, of course, Acrylic Live, which is brand new. It's just coming up in March. And then there's more and more and more and more and more. So thanks again. I want to remind you guys that Fall Color Week, we opened up 10 seats last night. 6 are left because we were able to get more seats. If you want to come to this retreat I do in the fall, this one's in Monterey and Carmel. We're going to be painting the ocean, and we're going to find some Fall Color Week color as well. Anyway, go on there to fallcolorweek.com and get those remaining positions because they're very unusual because we sold out so early. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Eric Rhodes, and we are here every weekday at 12 noon. And we believe anybody can learn to paint. And if you watch just five of any of the programs that we've done on YouTube, you will gain the confidence that you too can become a painter. Take me up on that because you're going, I can't paint. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't do any of that stuff. You can. We have literally trained millions of people, and we think you can do it too. You'll thank me later. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.